All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Moms of Real Estate podcast. We are without our main mom tonight or today.
So sad.
Sarah, but she had to take one of her girls off to college, and we don't want her to miss that. But
that's real mom stuff.
Kind of important. Yeah.
such is life.
Yeah.
But this week, we're kind of talking about something unique to Cincinnati and I guess other markets around the nation. Our MLS system is down.
And it has been down
Since August 8th.
And
We're not counting.
And I think she's gone. I think she's gone bye-bye.
Yeah.
Is everybody like in the 4 stages or 5 stages of grief at this point? Have we reached acceptance just yet?
Yeah,
We're
there's the
moving on.
full cycle of like, surely this is just temporary, right? There was hope. And then
I think day 2, I was like, oh, okay, like tomorrow for sure. And then tomorrow came and day 3 came and went and nothing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do?
well, and let's be honest, like the systems that we use aren't often like the most like user friendly. They're often like clunky. So for me, it was like, oh, like someone on the back end made an oops and, this is like par for the course and it'll be back up. But when I found out that it was like a hack, I think it was like a hostage
Yeah.
or a ransom
So
situation,
somewhere-
right?
Basically,
Yeah.
this
Hostage.
company that we, this company that housed all of our data and our information for our MLS system was cyber attacked. Not just our market center, but nationally, their storages, their cloud, technology, their cloud storages were all hacked, and therefore we are without all of our data and our just the ability to kind of do our jobs normally.
Yeah.
And I was telling my client, I had a listing go live during the height of all of this. And I was telling my client, I'm like, listen, my job's not terribly hard. Like we kind of, you kind of follow just normal systems and procedures. I was like, but it makes my job really fun and hard when the main component does not work.
Right. I feel like we should probably unpack that a little bit too, because at first it's like, okay, if you have listings live, how do I then update those? If I have a new listing to input, how do I do that? But there's so much trickle down to appraisers and, everyone that uses the MLS that as an agent, I'm not thinking about like how much cross contamination and damage this is going to do until you realize like, oh, the appraiser's refusing or saying that he can't do his job because he can't access the historical data for comps.
Has that happened to you?
Not to me, but
You've seen it happen.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
seeing.
That was my biggest concern when it went down. I was like, okay, we can still kind of figure out buyers for sellers. Like that's, there's an abundance for buyers for sellers right now. So I'm like, we could figure that out. It's not gonna be fun, but we can figure it out. But I was like, appraisers sometimes are a little bit more rigid. And I'm like wondering how that's gonna go. So
And it
we'll
kind of,
see.
yeah, it seemed like it was kind of like up to the individual appraiser. Like I've heard some appraisers didn't want to, put
Yeah.
it forward their appraisal. They didn't want to use RPR or whatever it was. But then I think we had 2 appraisals that happened while it
Since
was
then?
down.
Okay.
And it's been
I've had
fine.
one too. It was
So,
fine.
didn't even reach out, no concerns, everything's fine.
That's reassuring.
So
I think it's what you said. Everyone's having to work a little harder. It's
Yeah.
like taking an
Yeah.
extra 2 or 3 steps to get to the information. But it can be done, just if you're willing to do it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say too, along with that, I feel like a lot of agents have really been like, all right, guys, now or never, teamwork makes the dream work. We got to come together, for everybody, which was kind of cool seeing all the Facebook groups and stuff that were coming about to kind of try to get stuff moving and keep things selling.
Yeah, but in an ideal world, but what does that mean? Because we're not all coming together in a super organized way. There's a lot of
Chaos.
trial and error,
yeah.
and
Messy.
it's like the Wild West.
It
Yeah.
is. And then there's the agents that are only posting their listings on their personal stuff, and you're like, come on.
Yep.
We all want to sell it. Okay. We all want to sell the
Right.
house.
Right.
I was talking with another agent, friend of mine, and she lives in California, and they were operating under the same MLS company, server, data, whatever. And I was telling her what we were doing and what our MLS was telling us, we were allowed to do. We were allowed to post on Facebook. We had, at one point, a Facebook group that all agents were a part of to post active listings.
And
which
some
is
of the public.
which
yeah,
and some of the public was there. It's all a mess. It was not, but we were at least a little bit better than her. She said that they were putting together like an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh,
And I was like, if you've ever tried to change an Excel spreadsheet like on your own that somebody else is in charge of, like one data point entry can go wrong and then it'll all like get messed up. So I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss there.
Yeah.
Well, and like we're very fortunate that we have this new system, new MLS that's what's already in the works. Whereas like all these other,
Yeah.
cities don't have that option.
Yeah,
Like
so they're
luckily we were
starting from
able to,
scratch.
and we're going to end up with something even better than what was there before. And, but I can't imagine being in another market where they're just dependent on Rapatoni. And
Newspaper ads are just going to start coming back.
I know, right?
Maybe open houses
That
will be a
would
little
be a
bit more
good idea.
beneficial now,
Yeah.
so you can market them a little differently. I don't know.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things you guys are doing to keep things rolling, and like, what's the strategy when you had to pivot?
We were going, for my particular client, we were going to go live the week of the downfall. And luckily they were very gracious and kind about it. And they were like, oh, it's just our luck. Like, we're going to work with you. We're going to figure it out. And I was just like, we will do whatever we can. Luckily their house was super cute. I really didn't anticipate any issues with the sale with a normal MLS, let alone like one that's not there. So they were really gracious and like able to work with me, which is great. But what we ended up doing is we were able to get into our showing time system, which we were able to like log the actual home into the showing time system, which was a huge positive. That way agents could go ahead and schedule and they didn't have to do the runaround through me to them. And so that was good.
Is that like a manual entry?
Yes.
Oh.
We did a manual entry and then we Facebooked and I posted it on through all of our social medias. And then I know that the seller, she posted on like private moms groups, which was, I think, 75 to 80% of the traffic probably came through those moms groups,
yeah.
which was huge. So I'm like, because we have a pretty good outreach on our social, but I'm like, that was such a blessing. So if you guys have something, just go ahead and just join those groups now. Because if we're still allowed to post on socials and all that good stuff without MLS, continue to do that. And then the biggest hang up I found was one, just communication with agents in regards to like what's included, what's excluded. Do sellers need occupancy post-closing? Like those kind of conversations that are normally documented in MLS, like in agent notes or something, was really hard to communicate via just our normal showing time. So if you guys do it in showing time, I would suggest maybe creating like a little flyer of just like agent notes only that gets attached to like a confirmed showing.
Yeah.
That just knocks out 90% of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
questions because I was going back and forth between, is this still available? And I was making all those phone calls and I'm calling people and I'm like, I don't know if I've spoken with you, that kind of thing. I just wanted to make sure all those things were buttoned up, but it got done. It pended. It was wild, but we did it. But that would have been really helpful.
Yeah.
More information.
Did anyone end up joining Dayton MLS or no, not yet?
We joined, but we didn't
Listening.
log in. Luckily, Sarah, she is already a member of Dayton MLS, so we were going to upload all of ours through that. But we
Haven't taken that step.
didn't take that step at the time for this listing because it was already pending at the time. So
Okay. That's something that, depending on when it'll be rolled out, we're supposed to have 2 listings going on the market this weekend. And we were kind of like holding our breath that,
Yeah.
we would have the new MLS, but I'm like, I think that's probably the route we'll take is list in Dayton.
because then it'll hit through all of like your syndicated websites and
Yeah. Is it true you can't list in Dayton and in our like internal database at the same
Oh,
time?
you're having to like choose which one.
That's what I was reading, but
I would think that you can post in multiple
Do
MLSs
both.
because there's agents like I see, and I'm also a member of Kentucky, and there's sometimes listings that show up on the Kentucky MLS in Louisville. And I know that they're probably a part of the Louisville Association as well. So I'm sure I would always check with your broker.
I
Right,
also,
right.
I also want to say, like, what are the chances that they're able to cross check that stuff right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of one of the silver linings a little bit is like a little the red tape is kind of removed from the picture a little bit. They're just all the steps and the like regulatory stuff. It's like literally you're just sending things in Facebook mom groups like that.
And it's
That's
working.
not-
Yeah,
that does
real
not-
moms of real estate in Facebook mom groups. Yes.
That does not
That's
typically fly, right?
Right.
You're not allowed to just like blast your listings out everywhere without like an official.
Luckily, our MLS system, even though like it's been an absolute like chaos dumpster fire, they have been really like responsive. I feel like they've been giving us updates, which is huge because most of the time it's like, we'll know more when you know more. But they've been giving us like constant updates, even though like the updates aren't exactly what we would love for it to happen right now. I feel like it's better than silence and crickets.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're trying, which is a positive.
Yeah.
I saw someone post the other day and they're like, so I've seen a lot of things. How are you guys handling if you have a listing that was pending and it's now active again, but it's stuck in the MLS as pending?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
That would be terrible.
Because you can't remove it. You can't do anything. It's just stuck there. So I don't know. I was seeing if anyone has crossed anything crazy.
Well, and will it ever? Because if we're scrapping the old system and starting fresh with a new one, like it's not
just
like
stuck
one is
there.
gonna, if there's no integration probably like it was planned to be. Like, will the old information ever populate or are we just starting over?
If we get the old information back at this point, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
they might be pending forever.
Never the deal that never closed.
Yeah.
Dum, dum, dum. We all have one of those. Yeah.
I find that's another like pro. And maybe if you had something that it was sitting a little longer, it's like, you know, the momentum, the psychology of that. Like if something's on the market past that first week or whatever, you're kind of like, why isn't this selling? But now I'm like, well, the MLS situation's really hurting our momentum, but this is a great property.
Yeah.
We should really go check this out.
That is interesting. I never thought about one that went pending to active again. Oh, that would be stressful. I guess they have to just start over as if it's a new listing.
Right.
And just
Sure,
keep the
they're
doc,
gonna, like,
keep the
get
docs.
confusing, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what are you supposed to do?
Oh my gosh.
Or like price changes.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of agents utilizing the showing time, like all agents in your office option, even if you don't have a buy, just to like get the word
Blast
out
it.
about price reductions or,
Just-
yeah. It's been,
But it's still crazy because our I don't know about you all, but my inbox is like flooded with spam, just like marketing and all this other stuff. And then if we're getting all of these price reduction notifications or new listing notifications, I kind of panic because I'm like, did I show that house? Did I have a client that was looking at that house? Like, should I? No. Okay. No. So I'd never even met this agent. Okay. We're good.
exactly. Yeah. Like a multiple offer notification. You're like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Which
Did I
house was that?
submit something? Did I lose my? It's possible I lost my brain, but
And on the flip side, I think like it's a really good opportunity for buyers too.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are people that have said, well, let's just wait and see what
yeah.
what happens in the next couple weeks. Have you guys had anybody that's gone under contract during this time or?
I have someone, we were under contract like right before MLS. Like we just had our appraisal last week and that was interesting. But
Not like
yeah,
after it went down. Yeah.
not in
either.
Ohio.
But you're right. If a buyer finds something in Ohio that's not an MLS, they're getting maybe 5 or 6 eyes on it versus 20 to 30 plus that they normally would. So their competition's a little less, which is nice.
Yeah.
I only have listings right now. So like I feel like it's kind of rough because the exposure, it's limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for buyers, yeah, if you're willing to like get out there and scrap or put your criteria out there and like really use all the platforms and options, I feel like you can definitely find stuff.
With a little bit of like a change here, just while we're all here and it's this week, how has back to school affected everybody?
Like with
You
the
guys-
stress of what we're dealing with.
Right. Because, like, I anticipated, which I think I was telling my buyers, like, okay, well, back to school's next week. Hopefully things slow down. A lot of people, once that happens, are like, we're just going to wait till next year. but it was like that and the MLS is down. I'm like, oh, these poor sellers, man. Like, they're probably expecting this craziness and they're getting like 3 showing requests.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that like double whammy probably. It's hard to know how it's affecting because we can't see the data.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It feels like a significant slowdown
Yeah.
between like interest rates, back to school, and then us locally having the MLS
yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
It feels like it's kind of come to a yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you guys end up having? Can you say? Well, I guess you're pending. You had multiple.
We had multiples. We were in
Okay.
multiples, which was great.
That's
yeah, we
great.
called from, best in finals, which was nice. I think we probably could have gotten more offers had we been in a normal MLS situation, but sellers were extremely happy with what we've accepted. So,
Yeah.
that's a positive win for everybody. But yes, it was chaos. But we got it done.
Yeah. Did it impact your pricing strategy?
Luckily, thank the Lord, we had talked about comps prior because we've been on the house search and they didn't need to sell this before purchasing. So their listing has been like pending on my end. Like it will go live when we're ready. Luckily we had talked about comps prior and then I ran comps like one day before MLS shut down. So luckily we were like ahead on that range, which I was like, yes, hindsight.
Positive, yeah.
But, like with appraisals being kind of where they're at, I'm hoping we just get
Through it.
yeah. And it's going to be fine. We're going to make it. We're going to make it work regardless. But yeah, it's just going to be an interesting ride for sure. And then it'll probably close right before the new MLS system like winds up. You know what I mean? And then we'll be back.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, because that makes sense. But I am excited about our new MLS system. I think it's going to be nice.
Yes.
I'm excited. I haven't even peeked at any of the stuff yet. So hopefully tonight when I take my little Zoom class, I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be so much. Even from like the client's perspective, it's just gonna be so much more
It looks more like
friendly.
yeah, it looks way more user friendly.
Yeah, maybe in retrospect, when we're out of this sort of dumpster fire era, maybe we'll look back and be appreciative that it like was a rip the Band-Aid off situation to get us to that next step. Because you know how long it usually takes. They want everyone trained up and like the integration process and like
Then you
transferring
have the awkward, some people are using this, some people are
Yes.
using this.
Yep.
We were just having a bad breakup and now it's officially over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all
Right.
moved on.
Yep.
What are people doing? What are you all doing right now for your buyers that are actively looking? Like, how are you consoling them? Like advising them? Like, how are you finding properties? Because I have a few that I'm like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm sending you things that we find, but we're kind of in this together.
How are you doing that? Are you like screenshotting a Facebook post? Because you can't invite clients into the groups, right? So do you just
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've just been like saving the photos to my phone, copying, pasting, the info, sending it out that way. If it's a Facebook post, it's just like it's more work. It's just a lot more work on the front end. Like
Yeah.
checking Zillow if it's gone through Dayton, checking the internal database, Facebook groups. I feel like a lot of people have been very active in the Facebook groups.
Which is both good and bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
lots of opinions.
Lots of opinions.
I use for my listings, I've done this probably the past 2 years because typically with like an investment property, there's some more documentation that's required. It's not just like the property disclosures and stuff. It's usually like a P&L and
Rent rolls. All
yeah, rent roll. So I usually make a Google Drive folder for the listing. And then you have the unique link. And I keep like leases in one folder, all of the photos. So like not just the ones I put on the MLS, but like all of the photos. And then especially if there's like multiple units, can be kind of limiting. So I put everything into like a super organized Google Drive folder with subfolders for documents and stuff. And I feel like if you had that to send to other agents and say, here's everything I have on this listing, like that would be a really and then you could share that to your clients. And the only person that can manipulate it is the listing agent, but everyone who has the link can see it. I think you could get stuff out so much quicker And there have been some good ideas. I've seen people floating stuff that's like, the glorified spreadsheet that everyone would dump stuff into, but it's just so hard to keep organized.
And manage and
then like
endings and
and the scroll, like, you get down and yours gets lost, and I don't know. It's just, but I think that's a good way that's been working for me. And if you can, like, take those photos that you have and make, you know what I mean? Something so it's just an easy link.
I was gonna say that when our listing went live, I created like a template email for myself that it was like if agents asked, I just type their email address in and it's sent out with the disclosures and like link to all the photos. So that'll be helpful. But include like an agent notes section. That was my demise. But
Is there like could we get a sheet that looks like the MLS listing with all the fields and kind of like fill it out, scan it in, so that it would be like downloading the detail report or something? Like,
Potentially.
where could you put all of that information so that it was easy to digest,
yeah, I don't know.
right? Like
In an MLS
good question.
system.
in an MLS system. Yeah, exactly.
Only there was somewhere you should be able to put all that.
Like this is like we're reliving like the historic conversations of like, how do we do real estate better?
Yeah.
Let's start.
We're getting there. We just came back a little bit. Which this is a very unique timing with school starting, the end of the summer rush. It's one heck of a time for things to kind of go haywire, but
Hell of a time.
yeah,
In
sure
real
is.
estate.
Yeah.
Well, to your point about having like kind of a pending, like you knew that someone was gearing up to list and you were just waiting for them to be ready. For me right now, I'm like, if I have a seller that's kind of on that fence, like we kind of know what it looks like, but not quite ready, I'm like, why not just wait another week? Because like the headache of sprinting through, unless you have a sense of urgency, like you're moving or you need the cash in hand or whatever, I almost just think like wait a week.
In hindsight, like looking back, like saying, especially in that situation, if they were to come to me this week and say, we want a list, I'd say, our MLS is supposed to be coming out at the end of this week. Let's hold off until next Thursday to make this a little bit more streamlined. But looking back, I'm like, I'm so glad that we did it, because I would have been like, another week, another week.
Right?
And, now
There's no
it's,
end in sight.
yeah. And then I didn't have like an update. But now that MLS hopefully is coming back out, we can kind of get things up and rolling again.
Well, and you had a positive outcome too.
Yeah.
That's great for your clients. I'm thinking about like some of the other agents. We've talked about different personalities in the past. Like, do you feel like you have people kind of spazzing out on the other end of your conversations?
Yes.
Some of the agents I'm talking to seem like they're like in a full spiral.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay.
We're just going to get, I talked to like probably 40 or 50 agents about this property in particular. And I was like, help me help you. I was like, we're all in the same boat. It's the Wild West. What can I give? Like, what information can I get to you? Here's everything I've been sending everybody else. What else do you need? So I feel like it's a nice lesson in like teamwork makes the dream work. So maybe some agents will be knocked down off their high-rise pedestal and just come down and work with us normal people. We'll see.
Us little people.
Yeah,
Peasants.
I'm just trying to, sell a couple houses here and there. Yeah. But
Well,
Good luck with your
Yeah.
training.
oh gosh, yeah. We'll see how it goes. It's got to be fine. We're all going to learn it. So,
But if there's any IT people out there that can just set up an MLS system in 24 hours, just give us a call. We'd love to talk with you. Actually, I'll set you up with the people. I have no idea how to work technology like that. Yeah, no.
All right.
Well, everybody, hope you have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the first full week of school. And hopefully our MLS will be back by the next time we talk to you guys.
Be a little more sane.
Yeah.
See you then.
Bye.